Hey guys, how y'all doing today? My name is Franchise Fanatic, and welcome back to the channel. And today, if you guys, is another Star Wars video with, of course, some LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga gameplay in the background. I'm on the planet Jakku from the sequel trilogy, playing as characters from the, I guess, original trilogy. Today, we're going to be reviewing the new Star Wars show, Andor. So I'll be playing as the Andor characters from the new DLC that came out for the game. Now, I'm going to be having a separate DLC review specifically for LEGO Star LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, so make sure to go check that out if you want like a full breakdown of the Andor characters. However, today we're tackling the actual Andor TV show. So if you have not seen Andor on Disney+, please go watch it before you watch this review. This will be a spoiler review. It's kind of hard to not spoil the show, but it is an extremely good show. I highly recommend it. It's not my favorite, but, you know, it is good. But we're going to get right into it. So, again, if I have to clear my throat, excuse me, I don't know. It's crazy. But, you know, whatever. So this is it. Content must go on, right? I can't just stop recording. So, with Andor, I guess we're going to talk about specifically what it's about. So, basically, the show is, of course, taking place before Rogue One, because, of course, he dies in that, and obviously before Episode 4, A New Hope. So, this is kind of Andor, you know, on the run, going from two or three different main arcs of the show. Of course, the first one is like the Aldhani heist, which is really good, and then the prison deaths, you know, Empire imprisonment arc with, you know, Andy Serkis and all that, with Kino Loy and all that stuff, and then, of course, it ends with a really cool, I guess, you know, fight on Aldhani, I guess, you know, Daughters of Ferrix. It's a whole thing. But there's a lot to take in with this show. There's a lot of lore. There's a lot of talking. There's a lot of quiet moments. And that's one of my first things I want to talk about that isn't necessarily a negative, but it is something that has to be taken into account. Because if you love Star Wars, right, you've probably loved the blaster battles, the lightsaber fights, the cool action, right? Of course, Star Wars is not just action. If you think it is, you're probably not watching it correctly. But Star Wars is, you know, a lot of it is action and violence and adventure and, you know, cool action stuff. And this show does have action, right, as you've seen. There are blaster fights, there's fist fights, there's, you know, there are fights in the show. However, there's no lightsabers, there's no force powers, you know, it's mainly blaster-centric. And there's a lot of talking in the show. And this is not inherently a bad thing, because, you know, it can be very easy to watch something that is slow and have it be boring, and then there's also slow and, you know, actually progressing the plot and actually good content. The Deathly Hallows Part 1, Harry Potter, that is a very slow movie. Probably one of the slowest movies ever, but it's a good movie. Excuse me. It's the same thing with this. You know, it's a very slow show. There's a lot of talking. There's a lot of, you know, quiet moments, and I mean, when I say there's a lot of talking, if you've seen the show, I hope you're watching this, you know, before you've seen it, but there's a butt ton of talking. I mean, there are episodes with, frankly, just almost zero action, and it's just people talking, you know, Mon Mothma, or, you know, Andor and freaking Kino, or Andor and Bix, or Andor and whatever, or just, you know, the Aldhani heist as I'm kind of prepping and all that, and just kind of, you know, getting to know the characters, and that's a good thing, because when there are quiet moments, when stuff hits the fan, quite literally, it counts and it hits hard. You know, if they didn't focus on that and they were just like, I don't know, heist, action, and then big stuff happens, it wouldn't really, you know, okay, whatever, you know. But they make the moments actually count, and there's phenomenal acting, very good writing. Now, look, I hate getting political, but as you guys know, I'm Republican, and of course, with that being said, one of the writers was interviewed for Andor before the show came out, and they were like, yeah, we're writing the show as a big fuck you to Trump. That's what they said. They're like, yeah, screw Trump, he sucks, so we're writing this show because we hate him. Now, excusing the big hate boner for this guy, I do think that it is kind of a bummer that, you know, they said that, because I was very turned off. You know, I don't like the woke stuff. I don't like political stuff. Right, left, I don't give a crap. I just want good Star Wars content. Now, I know that Star Wars has always been political, right? That's the point. But Star Wars has never actually, like, mentioned, you know, Trump, Biden, whatever, you know what I mean? They never were like, oh, yeah, we're writing the show about the China virus because, you know, it's in Star Wars now. You know, they don't do that. You don't do that. So it is kind of weird that they, you know, even mention Trump. You know, I know why, because everyone hates the guy except for me, but I guess, and Republicans, but, online you have to hate Trump. You have to, if you're in Hollywood, if you love him, you're booted out, you're crucified. So I know why they said it. But upon watching the show, there really isn't anything woke or political in it, which I'm very thankful for. Thank God they didn't mention Trump. If Andor was, we have to get Trump, I'd be like, oh, shit, and I turned it off. But thankfully they didn't, even if they mentioned, again, right, left, doesn't matter. It just kind of bums me that they even bring up politics in these stupid interviews. It's like, who gives a crap? Just write a good show. And they did. There's one woke thing if you count, I guess if you're reaching, without pissing off a percent of my fan base, which I'm not even going to mention it. It's so little, it doesn't even matter. But it is a very well-written show. That's the point. I was nervous because of what they were saying. Thankfully, it was a very well-written show. There was a lot of awesome moments in the show, a lot of really good acting. Specifically, Andy Serkis is really good. Everyone's good. There's not a bad actor in the show. Mon Mothma's freaking awesome in the show. There's a lot of awesome kind of these action moments that hit aren't necessarily the longest or the most spectacular, but the visuals of the show really help it. And that's my one of the other positives of the show is that it's a very good-looking show. It's shot very well. Of course, it's paced well. There's different arcs, and you can clearly see where Andor's going in. There's a lot of going into the different arcs, I should say. There's a lot of really cool moments in the show that just stunningly are fantastic. The planets look good. The cinematography is outstanding, and it just it really does make you go, wow. It's funny, we've gotten so many Star Wars content regarding, video games or movies or animated shows or live-action shows or whatever. And, it's crazy they're still doing these shots. And you're like, wow, that's different, That's new. That's something that I haven't seen before, and it is really cool to actually, kind of witness and see these really awesome new things that they're doing with the show. Now, the Aldhani heist is a good arc. I think it's really cool the way they set it up, the way they actually do the heist and how it pulls off. There's a lot of brutal moments in the show. This is probably one of the more mature Star Wars show. Now, I'm going to drop a hot take. I'm going to drop a bomb on you guys. You probably know this already. I am, in my humble opinion, again, I don't give a fudge what George Lucas has to say, okay? Because I'm going to get a comment saying, well, George Lucas says this. I don't care. I don't think Star Wars is for children. Any of it. I think Star Wars is for teenagers and adults. I don't think a kid should be watching. Now, I know you might say, oh, a kid is a teenager. But in franchise land, a kid and a teenager are different things based on the rating system. So, in my humble opinion, I don't think Star Wars is for kids at all. It's for teens up. And, obviously, Star Wars Rebels isn't as mature in its storytelling as Andor. That's not to say it's a baby kid show. It's not. Watch it. It's fantastic if you're an adult. But at the same time, this Andor show, because it's so slow and because it takes its time, it really does have that more... this isn't a show for every Star Wars fan. I was not bored, but I could understand if you were watching this, after watching, say, Obi-Wan Kenobi, or The Clone Wars, or The Bad Batch, or Book of Boba Fett, or whatever, and then you watch this, it is a drastic difference compared to those shows. And that's not to say it's a bad thing. It just is, it's different. That's what it is. And like I said, it's a very slow-paced show, but that's what's unique about it. There's a lot of character arcs for different, new, unique characters. Really great writing. There's some really good monologues in there from Luthen. Good writing from, Saw Gerrera. He's cool. He kind of pops up in everything now, which I don't have an issue with, I guess. Whether he's younger or, the old guy huffing and puffing like Rogue One. But I do think it is a very cool thing that they chose. Let's not put Cal Kestis in. Now, would I want to see Cal? Yes. Which is freaking completely stupid that they didn't even, make a Cal Kestis show. Because the guy that plays him in Jedi Fallen Order is literally Cameron Monaghan from Gotham. He looks just like Cal, so I don't know what they're doing. Get my drink so I'm not dying. Get my blue milk. They're clearly not doing something over at Lucasfilm, because they should be making a Cal show like pronto. But at the same time, it was refreshing to see, a show that wasn't like, oh man, who's the big cameo in the last episode, I mean, that was a big thing in Mandalorian. Who's the cameo? And even Boba Fett and Obi-Wan, Now, look, seeing Hayden Christensen come back, as much as I hate his acting a lot of the time, which that's another topic, I do think it was cool to see him return, And it would have been cool to see Cal or, BD-1 or someone from other canon come back in Andor. But the fact they didn't really do that, Saw Gerrera's in there, but I'm talking like a really big guy. Like, imagine seeing Obi-Wan pop up or, like I said, Cal. I think it would have been cool, but it would have added like a wow factor, but it wouldn't have added anything to the plot. So I'm glad they didn't do that. It just shows that they're not 100% about just purely fan service, and they actually want to make good content. Which ever since Disney bought Star Wars, they have been making good content. Everything they've been doing has been a complete hit for me. The sequel trilogy is perfect. The video games have been perfect. The novels and comics I've been reading have been perfect. Everything they're doing is just a home run hit for me. So this show was another good effing show. But as far as actual negatives, we can touch on that because there's a lot of positives, right? Again, the first thing I said, it's not a negative for me, but I could see it being a negative for some. Again, like I said, it is slow. So keep that in mind. It is not an action show. It is very much an espionage, spy, political thriller, I guess, if you want to, go that far. Which is not bad. It's just different. As far as actual negatives that I have, I really can't even think of any. Again, it looks beautiful. It's shot well. It's written well. There's really nothing woke in it. It's just another well-made Star Wars show. I mean, that's all I can say. It's very cool to watch. Now, I was going to do a big, review 1 week every time it came out, but I was so behind with that show, I didn't do that. So this, again, obviously I'm doing it all now. But it is cool to see these different arcs and how they all kind of go together. All the Easter eggs, like Starkiller, his armor's in Luthen's shop, which is kind of cool, where he's kind of... a different persona, I guess, or like, a different person. So that's cool to see little Easter eggs and all that. But at the end of the day, Andor is just a very slow burn of a show, but it's a good show. And when stuff hits the fan, shit goes wild, it's wild as fudge, man. It hits. And look, if you just watched Book of Boba Fett or Clone Wars or Bad Batch and then you hop right into this, maybe you'll get bored. I don't know. I am so devoted to Star Wars, though. I could watch the slowest thing in the world with 0 action scenes and still be thrilled by it. So, I'm just that much of a fan. But at the same time, I do point out what I don't like. When I say all Star Wars is good, I don't mean everything is objectively perfect. Of course, there are things Star Wars has done which aren't the best, but this is not one of them. This is a great show, and I highly recommend it. Like I said, I really can't think of any negatives. I'm trying to rack my brain here. I really can't. I think it's well acted, well written, good CGI. I think a lot of the Marvel shows have been kind of, like Moon Knight or Miss Marvel or She-Hulk. Besides them being woke messes, not Moon Knight, but Miss Marvel and She-Hulk are woke messes. They look like butthole half the time, those two shows, right? In terms of their budget, their CGI. I have not seen a Star Wars show, from The Mandalorian to Boba Fett to Obi-Wan to this, that I've never seen a shot that has gone, oh my god, that looks like freaking heck. Man, that looks horrible. Or man, that shot looks like trash. I've never seen that. It just genuinely, all the CGI looks really good. And whatever they're doing with that, blue milk, whatever they're doing with that in the actual show, the crazy lights or whatever they have, like the Unreal Engine 5 or 4 thing they're doing, they showed it off with The Mandalorian behind the scenes. It pays off. It really does. It looks fantastic, and I hope they continue to use that. I think the Batman movie did that too, the new one. But anyway, I'm going to end it here before I keep you too long. I filmed about 20 minutes or so of the Andor gameplay, but again, I think it's really, really freaking good, man. If you haven't seen it, make sure you go check it out. Obviously, I hope you have seen it, because I spoiled half of it for you. For Kino Loy, I guess, a lot of people are like, oh, did he jump in the water because he can't swim? It's left to interpretation. If there is a Season 2, which I believe they're making one, I think that he might be, explored further. Because it's Andy Serkis, he's freaking Gollum, he's Snoke, he's Haddock, he's Caesar, he's everything, he probably played my mom in a movie, he's just that good. So we'll have to see what happens with him, in terms of if he lived, if he's still on the thing. I think he got trampled, or he just, drowned, because, why the hell would you stay on that ship? Okay, you fought for so long, and you're, oh, well, I can't swim, F it. By the way, if you can't swim, here's an idea, wiggle your friggin' arms around like an idiot, and you'll swim. That's what you do. You just go crazy in the water, and I don't know, whatever. Rey did it for 5 seconds, and not because she's a Mary Sue. She did it because it was 5 seconds, and she was doggy paddling, she was freaking out, and she hit land. That's a whole nother thing. But I'm just saying, I don't know if Kino made it, but we'll have to see what happens next with that character. Anyway, I'm going to give Andor from a 0 to a 10. I'm probably giving it a 9.5. I really freaking liked it. Again, I am a massive Star Wars fan. I really don't want to say I'm biased, because I'm not. I will clearly tell you if something is wrong. Like, I have a lot of issues with the prequels and a few issues with the originals. I love them, but I have issues with them. I'm not just going to say, oh, it's Star Wars, so it's automatically perfect. I'm not like that. If I have an issue with something, I'm going to tell you. And I really can't think of that many issues with the show. I think it's fun. It's action-packed when it has to be. It's very slow when it has to be. And all of it works. Again, is it my personal favorite? No, I'd probably say that'd be Obi-Wan Kenobi or something like that, at least for the live-action shows. I think the Clone Wars animated show is still my favorite show, in terms of all of them combined. But it's a fun show. It's very action-packed. Again, like I said, when there is action. But really the bulk of the show are the characters, the writing, and the motivations of what they actually stand for and how Andor... I mean, there's moments when Andor is barely in an episode, and that could be seen as a negative because, it's called Andor, and... we're talking about the guy with his mom, which, yeah, some scenes are slow, some of them are boring. I understand that, It's just a guy eating his effing cereal, and his mom's like, "You're a stupid bitch. You better get back to work, son." It's like, all right, that really didn't go anywhere, did it? But there's a few things like that happen. But other than that, man, there's really not much to complain about. This is a very good show, and, I can't wait for Season 2 if that's ever going to happen. But until then, we have The Bad Batch Season 2 coming out in 2020, I believe early 2023, probably January. But, again, tell me in the comments down below without spoiling what you thought about the show. Andor, what would you give it from a 0 to a 10? Again, I'm going to give it about a 9.5. I really enjoyed it. Again, I apologize if I coughed or sounded like I was dying on camera. I'm not sick. I don't know what's happening, whatever. But, again, I have to make this content or else I'm never going to get it out. And, again, hope you enjoyed the LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga gameplay of Jakku playing as the Andor characters. I had a lot of fun making the video. Again, it's a really good show, and I can't wait to rewatch it and just add it more to my awesome collection. And, just the Star Wars canon is growing. It's getting bigger and bigger by the second, it seems. And as long as they keep making quality content like this, and the sequels and the animated shows and the novels and the games, if they keep making stuff to that caliber, I don't give a fudge, man. If you release a new show every freaking day, I'm here for it, as long as it's good. And Andor is pretty good. Thank you guys, and we'll see you in the next video.